What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and I'm here with
Gershwan.
And we're back to answer your questions in another Q&A video entitled For the Greater WAAAGH.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. And that is what Impulse in the Zone did. He asks, what type of drugs are in Warhammer 40K universe? That's a good question. We've answered it before. We have 40 facts on the food and drink of Warhammer 40K. But basically, the most common one is stimulant-inducing combat drugs, taken by a lot of the Imperial Guard regiments that usually are kind of like edgy, and they like this the ones that steal and the ones that like do crazy things like the Death Corps of Krieg. Basically, they just hype them up to this like sense of rage, and they kind of block out their like critical thinking ability to the point where, you know, putting a bayonet on a gun and going and charging a Titan seems like a good idea. It's the drug that's like pushing these Imperial Guardsmen to do that, and that is the most common type of drug.
Right. Depending on where you're at, there's a drug for everything. If you're in a pleasure world, I forgot what it's called, but it's in like an endorphin-producing drug that just makes you feel pleasure, like intensified. Yeah, the cool thing, you find this a lot in like the Inquisitor books and stuff like that, but the cool thing is that with all these drugs, because they're sci-fi and like you're going to completely different planets with completely different ecosystems, they do things to the human body that just like is very trippy. And it is cool when authors who are writing the lore, the books, kind of like explore that and stuff like that. I really want to do that when I do my horrible realities of a noise marine, because a noise marine is supposed to be all about pleasure. So it'd be really cool to, you know, play with that. There's some that have like their backpacks like with like serums and stuff like that, and like with a push of a button that injects into them, and they get like faster, or they don't feel wounds. Same thing with the Dark Eldar. There's a whole bunch of drugs with their whole society too. Yeah, and then the Dark Eldar actually use drugs that just cause pain to whoever they've captured, which is another reason why you never want to be captured by a Dark Eldar fleet or raider thing. If it comes to that point, you just kill yourself. Yeah. I would much rather be food to Tyranids or a good fight for an orc. Never anything with a Dark Eldar. It's just like scary to think what they can do to you. Right. But yeah. And another race too, that before we move on to the next question, that uses drugs is the Tau. Usually you think that they're all about like technology and stuff like that, but pilots who either pilot hammerheads or battle suits, they have stimulant injectors, and it's basically, it gives them the feel no pain, so it like gets their adrenaline pumping and makes their senses more available to take in more information and processes, while at the same time they don't feel pain as much, so they're able to keep going if like their arm gets blown off or something like that. Yeah, when you look at the other Xeno races, orcs are kind of similar. They are similar in that it's not a drug that they produce or that they grow. It's a drug that just is inside of their body. The reason that an orc, their physiology is so durable is because they have those types of like stimulant-inducing chemicals, things, inside their body, just growing. Because an orc is like a hybrid, basically. Yeah, it's like a fungus. Yeah, part animal, part plant. Yeah, kind of. Oh, I forget what it is, because it's not a fungus. I think I read in the lore it's a type of lichen. Not like the wolf lichen, right? But like But yeah. This next one is by Kappa Kiev. If you could design a fighting game set in the 40K universe, what would be the first 8 characters you would add? The Primarchs. That's more than 8, but yeah. So I guess if we had to like narrow it down, you pick 4, I'll pick 4. Okay. I mean it's pretty simple. Like I would want to do. It would be cool if it was just generic characters. So it'd be like the Orc Knob, because an Orc Knob is supposed to be like a pretty formidable thing, and it could also fight with other knobs, and it fits in the lore. It's not like a war boss fighting with another war boss. Like it's like they would probably use like guns and stuff like that at that point.
So yeah, knobs. What are those chicks? The Dark Eldar chicks that are like jumping around everywhere.
Banshees?
The Banshees.
Yeah.
Just because they look badass.
Uh-huh.
And then crew, mercenaries.
Mm-hmm.
It'd just be cool to have something like that. And then
when it comes to the Dark Eldar, it'd be cool to have the I think they're called aberrations.
The big like
grotesques.
Grotesques.
Yeah. Because literally they're made for like gladiatorial fights and stuff like that.
Yeah. But yeah, and then the last one.
We gotta pick something like Space Marine-y.
Oh yeah, like if it was a human warrior, like an Ogren, that'd be kind of cool. So yeah, those would be my 4.
It's a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah. Very generic.
Right.
But because like you kind of want to make it your own.
Yeah.
And you know how like every single fighting game, like Marvel vs. Capcom, if you press a certain button, like it gives you a different like outfit.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool to customize your own fighter and then have them go through a story, and then you then invest like this like backstory to this character that you're building.
Right. Like you get trophies and armor for everything you kill. So you beat like a Swarm Lord, you could take like the armor and use that as its like as your armor, like its carapace, or take its bone sabers.
What about your 4?
I'd have to go with a battle suit, just a regular generic Tau battle suit. And again, same thing. As you progress and level up, you get like the Onager Fist. You get to like maybe you're getting stuck in a combo. You could use your Vecto Retro thrusters to get out of that combo and then go back in. You can put up your shield. So yeah, just a regular Tau battle suit. I'd have to go with the what's it called? The Elysian drop troops.
Oh yeah.
Because they could like fly around and then it'll add a different mechanic.
Yeah, like it's hard for them to like get actually stuck in and they're like flying around. This would have to be like a fighting game that's in a huge map. It can't just be like a 2D scroller.
Yeah.
I think it would, to make it badass and to make it feel like it's 40K, it would have to be like 3D.
Like a 3D arena fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just a regular Space Marine, start off with the combat knives. You give them a thunder hammer, claws, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah. Somebody needs to develop it. Next question comes from Francisco Bergmans. How does the Emperor look like now? He's sometimes depicted as a mummified body, and sometimes as a fresh corpse with limbs missing. No, at this point, I'm pretty sure he's just a mummified body. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's been how long? Like he should have been like dust by now. But
one theme though that is the same in everything is that he is like hooked up to this golden throne. Like there's wires and tubes coming out of his back, his side. Like it's just everywhere. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
This one's by Colin Anderson. Who would win in a straight-up fist fight between Horus or Thanos with no Infinity Gauntlet?
Horus. Horus has... I mean, if you're not going to give Thanos the Infinity Gauntlet, Horus has warp powers.
Yeah.
So.
But are you saying a straight-up fist fight, though? I guess it's just mano a mano, no warp powers, nothing. Because you do have, like, a super soldier, Primarch, against Thanos, which... If you're going by MCU, they didn't really... Well, I guess they kind of did go into his background, so I still give it to Horus.
Yeah, because Drax could have probably taken Thanos without the gauntlet.
I don't think so.
Because Tony Stark did it. And he had the gauntlet, right? Like when they had their whole little, like, fight or whatever. It was Tony Stark mostly beating him.
Right. But that was because he was, like, fighting everybody else, and, like, he had just beaten everybody, and it was, like, them two.
I think it's just because...
He beat the Hulk.
With the gauntlet, though.
No, he wasn't using the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Straight up, like in the beginning of Infinity War, he took the Hulk down. Just straight up fist fight.
Without the gauntlet?
And even if he did have the gauntlet, he only had like 1 or 2 stones.
But, yeah. Well, next question comes from Kyle Walker. What is the easiest chapter trial to become a Space Marine? Before Buttermilk Bob sounds off, I know all trials are far beyond me or you filthy scrubs. So, the toughest trial I think is fighting a space marine hand to hand.
I mean, you did have that Space Wolf guy who took down a fully armored Space Wolf when he was just like a feral child.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the stupidest things I could possibly think about.
But it's not uncommon, because even in the lore for the trials, it says that if a child can beat this full-grown Astarte, he ends up becoming something very, very big in the chapter.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. But I think that would be the most deadly, because the lore says that it's you're being measured in the amount of your failure. So you are guaranteed to fail, whereas the other chapters, you don't necessarily have to fail.
Right.
It's your success that gets you past that. So I would say that.
Yeah, Space Wolves.
Space Wolves, yes. Next question.
This one is by YOLO Pig 25. Pig. If you could design a Legion in a Primarch, what would it be like? You did exactly that. Check out the playlist, Celestial Suns.
There's a whole playlist.
I've been working on it for like 4 years.
Next question comes from Arthur Morgan. How old is the oldest Space Marine not in a Dreadnought? How old is Dante?
Like 1,600 years old.
There you go. Next question. This is from Mr. Kevmo Money. Did Conrad Kurz see the actual future? Do you think that some Tzeentch Chaos warped influence only caused him to see... So basically, is this prophecy true or not? And the answer is no. I think prophecies in Warhammer 40K are very... like, the future is not set in stone, and it's a web, and many possibilities have to happen, or many things have to happen in order for the possibility of your vision to come true. And I think what the Night Haunter or Conrad Kurz was seeing was one reality, and it just so happens that reality would probably end up becoming true, because there weren't that many like the actions that would lead to that were many, if that makes sense. Kind of like yeah, if there's like a maze and the destination is his vision, the maze itself doesn't have one path to that vision. There are multiple paths to that vision, and so he could have done a lot of things differently, and he still would have ended up in that vision, just because that's the way the web of your fate is. Next question.
Randock Gaming. So I've never played the tabletop before, but I fell in love with the race called the Squats. However, I can't find anything online about how to play them, or even if I can play them. Do you know if it's possible to play the Squats, and where I can find said info on playing the Squats? Well, Squats are a type of physical activity where you kind of position your feet shoulder length apart and kind of like go down, usually with weight, and come up to build muscles of the body. That's what a squat is.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you'd be able to play this on the tabletop. I mean, at the gym, yeah, sure, but on the tabletop,
people will probably stop playing with you because they would break tables if you get on the table. Not to say that that's a jab at your weight, but just that that's a jab on the way you lean back. You need to have your center of gravity be at the center, not in the back.
Right, because that one song from Fat Joe, Lean Back, let's just say it didn't end well.
No, which is why he's not doing anything anymore.
That we know of. He could be in the shadows with the Terror Squad.
With the Terror Squad, yeah. Just waiting. But Imperial Fists. Or no.
Imperial Fists, what?
But Imperial Guard. You could use the Imperial Guard Codex to build your squad
Squats, yeah. Squats aren't a thing anymore. They are only playable in Necromunda?
Yeah, Necromunda, yep.
Or you could play... They're like dwarven... Are they elves? Dwarven elves? Or they're just dwarfs in Age of Sigmar?
And Age of Sigmar, no, yeah, they're dwarves. They're just different types of dwarves, but yeah.
But yeah.
For the models, yeah.
Right. For the models, I'd say go to Age of Sigmar because they got some pretty cool ones.
The Iron something or whatever.
Yeah.
The Argonauts or something like that.
And then just like convert them and make it as to where their rules would make sense to what they have with the Astra Militarum Codex.
Yep. Next question comes from Robert Has Downs Jr. When you think we're gonna get Primaris Jacaro?
Oh, I need that now.
Yeah. Jacaro weaponsmiths, I think, are underrated.
They are. Heavily.
Heavily underrated. You guys should play like an army of just Jacaro weaponsmiths. That won't be an elite army at all.
Because they're only like, what, 60 points?
Just there might be less. I think they're like around 35.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's one Jagero weaponsmith, it costs $15. So if you get like 1,000-point game, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it is 35, let's do the math. Well, it's a lot. You have to spend a whole lot if you want an army of Jagero weaponsmiths. Yeah. Next question comes from Lavender. The question is, Alchemist, why did you cut your hair? It was so good before.
Because it's hot. It's a hot girl summer, and I don't like being all sweaty.
Yes. Hot girl summer.
Mm-hmm.
Wu-Tang. Last question. I have one from Camdell Johnson. This is going to be an interesting one. Is racism, sexism still a thing in the 40K universe? Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's xenophobia. If you look different, there's going to be a huge separation there, because you bring in not just different human species, but you bring in mutants, chaos, aliens. All these things are foreign to humanity, and humanity as a whole they don't take kindly to things that are different. So the first thing's going to be like, oh, Tyranids are scary, they're going to invade us. But what if there's a race that looks Tyranid but isn't invasive? So stereotypes.
Classism too. Mm-hmm. Think of all the different levels of a hive.
Right. The nobility, the inquisitors, and how they treat, the slum people and stuff like that.
But that's what makes it cool, because then you can play the underdog in a like skirmish game.
Yeah.
So like your Blackstone Fortress, or your like the Blackstone Fortress itself has ratlings in it, and ratlings are kind of like they are the they're the abhumans that don't really matter.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're good snipers, from what I hear.
They are. They're good sharpshooters. Those are the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below. Talk to you tomorrow.
Sound Alchemist?
Gershwan.
We're out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.